large, but then my ears start to hurt after a while.
Yeah.
So like the large, they stick in there, but then my ear starts to ache. I think they're too big.
I'm going to go close the door here for Ready to Start.
Yeah, we are live. If you got this part of the video, you've got the live unedited edition Home Gadget Geeks Thursday night, April 23rd, 2020. If you've got this any other time than 8 p.m. in the Central Time Zone, 9 Eastern, you've got the recorded version, and that's okay. Just hang on. A quick warning to you. This is a long play community podcast. We spend a lot of time just talking and goofing around. So if you came in off a link somewhere and you're looking for the latest 7-second review on something, whatever it is, this probably is not you're not going to want to stay around for too long. If you want to just hang out with us in a conversation, we're going to talk a lot about a lot of tech and a lot of gear, and we'd love to have you stay around. But we are a long play. We break all the rules on YouTube, and we spend a little bit of time just kind of goofing around. But we'd love you to stay. We got a great community. I think we have the best community on the internet, and we'd love to have you be a part of it. So if you, Mike, I say that because when we did the Unraid show, somebody got snarky with me. Welcome back, Aaron. When we did the Unraid show, somebody got snarky with me, like the Unraid doesn't start until like 15 minutes in or something. And when you're like, yeah.
So you got to put that disclaimer up front.
Okay, I think I need to. Aaron, I was watching one of your videos, and you were, I think it was on the LG, the Gram, and you were like, hey, if you're looking for a super technical, in-depth interview, this is probably not your interview.
I'm not even going to try to be that person.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So I think it's good because I get snarky comments from, not all the time, but from folks on YouTube all the time. Like, it took him 25 minutes to get to the point. Yeah, it did. Sorry. We're having a good time. So if you're, if by the way, if you've got the recorded version of this, the best way to listen is live. So every Thursday night, most Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. If you want to see a complete schedule, go out to the new Eventbrite page that we have. Go out to theaverageguy.eventbrite.com. All the shows that I have at least listed at this point are scheduled out there. And I think we're 3 weeks out, maybe 4, including this week. Aaron, that's a miracle for me to have that level of things scheduled out. I'm just going to say it.
That's awesome. I'm a planner though. So I have pages of calendars that are just full already.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're a pro at this, so you have to. We're just goofing around. We're just goofing around. Speaking of goofing around, let's get to the beer pour. This might be new since the last time you were here, Aaron. We've had some folks sending us beer. So Open Road Brewery has sent us, well, actually, Andy Coffee sent these to us. Mike, we are doing the Drifter today. It is 8.2. Well, first of all, it's a brown ale, Imperial Double, 8.2, and no IPU. So it's probably not very bitter. Let's give it the open, and then we'll give it the pour. So it should be a little dark on the pour, I would imagine. And
my new favorite.
You like this?
Of the ones we've tried?
Yeah,
this one's my favorite.
Yeah. So, so what do you think so far, Mike? You've taken a couple sips. What are you tasting in there?
It's a really, really solid brown ale. Yeah, no bitterness at all. Obviously, you wouldn't expect that from a brown ale. Almost a little bit, not chocolatey, but that kind of like texture of a chocolatey beer, if that makes sense.
I gotta wait. I poured too much foam.
Well, I don't feel so bad now that I also poured myself a drink tonight.
Yes. What do you got? What are you drinking?
I don't usually pour one. It's a vodka martini.
Nice.
With extra olives.
That's kind of sophisticated.
Yes, yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, you won't get that here.
I just put it in a fancy glass. I mean, normally I'm happy to have it in a tumbler, but I thought, since we're podcasting.
No, right on.
Right, yeah.
Right on. Yeah, we've been So if you want to send us your beer, and you can, if you want to do that, Jim at theaverageguy.tv, and I'll get you the address and you can ship them. Andy, thanks for sending these to us. We got one more next week, and we'll have some openings after that. Mike, I think we have the mead next week. So
I'm excited for that because I've never had a mead before.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped to be getting the mead. My son, my Marine son, has been drinking a lot of mead. He drinks a lot of mead in California. And when he comes back home, he's talking about making his own. So we may have a mead
Oh, wow.
mead brewer in the house, and looking forward to that. So Open Road and Andy, thanks for sending the beer our way, and it's going to be delicious. It really darkened up on the pour there, Mike. It did a pretty nice job of
Yeah, it
coming
did.
down. Nice little head on there.
What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What'd you pair it with? What do you think?
That's interesting. This is I don't know if I would pair this with anything. This is more of a like
really dark cigar would be good with this too.
I was getting okay. Now, yeah, I couldn't find it. I couldn't think of any food.
Yeah,
maybe a burger.
You, Aaron, that will definitely any steak or meat that way. Aaron, you craft brew gal. Do you like your craft brew?
Yeah, I really do. And actually, this makes me think that the next time, if there's a next time, next time I come back, I'm gonna have to get you guys some Canadian beer, and we'll all have the same Canadian craft brew.
Okay,
that would be
I like
fun.
that idea.
That would be fun. I don't know if
I'll be back next week.
I don't know if the borders exactly. I don't know if anything's getting through the borders at this point, but we could always hope.
Hopefully, booze is. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
how else are we all coping?
I know.
Right.
I know. Yeah. Well, it'd be great. We'd love to do some local craft beer with you. Again, if you want to send us your beer, send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv, and we'd love to open the show with the pour. We've had some really good ones sent to us. We get some Arkansas beers from time to time. Delicious, and they make their way here, and so always great. And so Andy, we appreciate you sending those to us. If you're joining us for the very first time and you're wondering, I thought I was coming to a tech show, you are. We're just gonna get started here in just a minute. I got to remember this beer is 8.2, by the way. last week it was a little stronger, I think 6.5, and I drank it pretty fast before we started the show, and then I stumbled through the intro. So you got to be careful. Got to be careful with that. All right, let's see anything going on in the chat room. Joe says, don't use United States Postal Service. It's illegal. So you'll have to ship that UPS or FedEx or whatever. I don't know.
That is good to know.
Tony, I've caught your hints about the lawn care nut guy, of pursuing him to have him on. We're in 2 weeks. I'd have to look at my own schedule here. Dave McCabe is coming on, and we're going to do a complete lawn show. So lawn tech and all the things that he does to get his lawn ready for the summer. The lawn care nut is a guy. Actually, I watch him, Tony. I watch him with Connor over at what's the mustache guy? The Lawn Rebel. So I watched the Lawn Rebel, and he's had the lawn care nut on. Those two guys are kind of friends, and they're big time. They're big YouTubers. I'm not sure he'd say yes to coming on Home Gadget Geeks. He's a big deal YouTuber. So we'll have to see. I don't. Aaron, although Aaron's a big deal on TV, and she said yes. So maybe I should ask him.
So I'm more of a medium-sized deal, I think.
Mike, go ahead.
The live page is not updated.
Oh, that's not good.
It must be that 8%.
Or I was a little behind in things, but yeah, you're probably right. Let's get that.
Which is weird because all of our people in chat didn't. They must come now via YouTube and not via the live page.
Yeah, hold on. Let's get that fixed. If I could click the right button.
Do I have to log into the chat if I want to?
Yeah. If you go to the YouTube, page here, Aaron.
Well, you can click on live comments on the right, and you can see all their YouTube comments.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't type back in this chat.
Oh, okay.
So you'd have to go to the YouTube, pop out the chat but you can talk to them. So.
I can't believe I forgot to do this. All right, let's go to the live page. Sorry about that, YouTubers.
Well, I forgot I'm seeing all the trash behind me. I got the computer up and running, and I forgot to clean up.
Yeah, so give us a little update because we're not going to get a chance to do that in the show, Mike. While we're doing this, give us a little update on your build today.
Yeah, so the new build that I've been talking about on Discord happened literally right up to the time that I joined the show. So got everything up and loaded. So complete new computer for me. Same case, but everything else is new. So an X570 chipset motherboard, Ryzen 5 3600, still that 1660 Super GPU that I was using before. And then Think Computers is actually kind enough. They sent me over the Alpha Cool Eisbear 240 millimeter AIO, and I've never used an AIO before, so that was fun. Getting that installed. I had never had to play with a radiator and that sort of stuff. So I have to tell you, going from a 3rd gen Intel to something like this. Oh, and I put an NVMe in here as the boot drive. I've never run an NVMe before. This thing is just night and day compared to my other computer. I thought my other computer was fine, to be honest. But this one now is just, wow. Once you experience it, it's like looking at a 4K TV for the first time. You're like, I didn't even notice that 1080p was blurry until I saw 4K. Kind of like that right now for me. So
Aaron,
hopefully
you do a lot
don't flake out.
Aaron, you do a lot of TV reviews. Do you find you get spoiled by some of the really good TVs, and when you have to go back and kind of watch just standard, 1080 or whatever, or do you have the best TV possible?
Well, I only just in the last 6 months got a 4K TV, and pretty much everyone that knows anything about me was horrified, as they should be. But it's funny, I also got a chance to spend a couple weeks with an 8K TV in my house. And so we were watching that, and it's amazing. I think it was like a 70-inch or something like that. And by the end of it, I was so used to it that I was just like, yeah, 8K is okay. It's all right. And then I went back to watching our old TV, and I was like, oh my God. And that was an SD, so it was really a step down. But
whoa,
it's funny what you adapt to.
My eyes.
I didn't think about it, even besides resolution. So I also got a new monitor for just one of my main monitors. All the rest of them are the same. I got it bigger, but it's a high refresh rate. I've never had a high refresh rate monitor. It's weird how it almost feels more like fluid, realistic. I know I'm talking about things that people upgraded like 5 years ago, probably more than that. But I went from a 60 FPS or 60 hertz monitor to 144, and from 24 inches to 27, it just feels more, immersive. I like it, especially for gaming. Huge difference. You can game at 144 FPS.
Hey, real quick, sound check from the chat room. So I'm getting some weird. Aaron, are you hearing a little stuttering when Mike talks at all?
Yeah, just now though.
Okay, and then
just
Mike,
in the last minute
Aaron stuttering, and am I stuttering for you at all?
Aaron a little bit. Jim once in a blue moon. Like I've heard it maybe 3 times.
Chat room, give us a quick. You've heard all 3 of us talk. I just want to make sure before we do the recorded. Good enough for you guys out there? I just want to make sure.
They say I'm breaking up.
Okay. Yeah, the web is having some problems tonight. And this could be StreamYard, which means there isn't that much I could do about it. So
it has to be StreamYard because we did all speed tests. We're all golden. We all have great up and great down.
Yeah, in fact, this is the best speed I've had since the pandemic started. So I was like, wow, this is pretty.
There are a lot of people on the internet right now.
Yeah, there are. Aaron, you doing all right during that? We'll keep this part out of the show, but you doing okay during this time of isolation?
Yeah, we're good. We've got we've got a nice yard, we've got a hot tub, we've got plenty of projects around the house. So, I've been working from home. My husband already works from home, so it hasn't changed a lot for us. And everybody we know is healthy. So that's about the most you can ask for. Right now.
Yeah. No, that's right on with everything that's going on. Do you have many cases in your area, in your locale?
Not as many as some other places. Alberta's been pretty successfully able to manage it. And we haven't had a lot of deaths and hospitalizations. I can't even say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I know that a lot of other places are a lot worse off than we are.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's good. Good. It seems like Omaha's managing it pretty well, Mike. We're thinking of COVID-19 or we're all practicing some form of social distancing and such, but it doesn't seem to be making the local news anyways. Nobody's freaking out about it here, right?
No, my wife works at the hospital, and she does obviously, very different processes and procedures, right? Being very careful, but other than that, in Omaha hasn't had too big of an impact.
Right. Yeah. No. So it feels a little surreal because I've been home now 6 weeks. I literally haven't left the house for the most part. I mean, we go for walks and a few other things, but it's weird. It's kind of like it's going to be weird when there's a big construction project going on downtown Omaha. They're ripping out what used to be ConAgra's headquarters. And that had just started when the lockdown happened. By the time we get back there, it'll be gone and they'll be building on it again. And that's something I would have driven by every day. Just I love to kind of keep track of that kind of stuff. No, well, now I'm going to get there. It'll just be done. So
getting back to normal will be weird. I think it'll be really strange.
Do you think for you, because you're already home, will that feel equally weird in the sense that you never really experienced? It wasn't like working from home was a big deal to begin with, and then everybody's going back and they're making a big deal about it, and you're like, what? Like, okay.
Well, if I go out, for example, like go work at a cafe or go work at the library or go work wherever, I mean, that you still can't do that stuff. And, even just outings, like going out for lunch to meet someone for lunch or grab a drink or whatever, we're social that way, but that's the kind of stuff we've been missing. We've been doing a lot of Zoom drinks.
Yeah.
Zoom drinks with friends.
Yeah. And I've been doing Zoom cigars, which has been fun. I think that's just how you and I are going to have to do this.
Like it's going to be the only way if we want to do it anytime soon.
I know. So, you call somebody up on Teams or on Zoom and just enjoy a cigar together. And that's actually worked. It's worked out pretty well. So it's been a good way to do it. All right. We better actually start a show here. Aaron, welcome. And thanks for coming on. You know how this works. Let me do this thing. This is 42. Man, I did not do my job here before we started. Everything's got too involved in chatting. Today is the 23rd. All right, here we go. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 442, recorded on April 23rd, 2020. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in beautiful Bellevue, Nebraska. Can't ask for any better deck weather, right? Have you been getting outside?
Oh, yeah. We've been especially when you have the kids home, you need to keep them entertained during this time. You have been outside all day, every day. It's been fun of watching my son, my oldest. He has the Strider bike. It's a bike essentially with no pedals. They can just, but 2 wheels only, no training wheels. And he is just rip run around the circle now and giving his mom a little bit of a heart attack sometimes. But it's been.
Yeah, we're having a good time. Aaron Lawrence is with us. Aaron, as the warm weather come to Canada, are you guys up there getting any nice stuff yet?
Just in the last week, we finally got rid of the snow. I would say we had snow 20 out of the last 25 days up until last week.
Yikes.
And it's finally mostly just gone. So spring feels like it's finally here, and I couldn't be more grateful.
Yeah, it's springtime. Our friends in the South have been dealing with tornadoes and severe thunderstorms. And so thinking about you guys down south. Of course, April 23rd, 2020, still in the United States, almost all of us are still in lockdown. But we'll post a show with world-class show notes. For us, a lot of the world hasn't changed. And, of course, we'll post those at theaverageguy.tv. Don't forget, you can join us live on our mobile app if we ever get out of the house again. The best way to listen to Home Gadget Geeks on the road is through the mobile app. So homegadgetgeeks.com, you can download that for Android, iPhone. Many of you found other ways to do it, but a great way to stream it live, homegadgetgeeks.com. And now you can forget, big announcement. You can now follow the show schedule. I've got it working, guys. I'm committed to keeping it up to date, at least for now. And it's the next 3 shows are out there. If you go to theaverageguy.eventbrite.com, just write that down, go to it, save it, whatever. You ever want to know, because before the show, I always get a bunch of emails. Hey, who's on the show tonight? You never have to guess anymore. theaverageguy.eventbrite.com. We are using that to help us keep track of the shows. And so if you want to know what's coming up next week, a big ed tech, how has this COVID-19 situation changed technology? We have 3 Nathaniel's coming on. Chris Nessie is coming on. Brian Friedlander's coming on. Talk about how all the technology has changed for the schools. So that should be super interesting in a roundtable. And then Dave McCabe on the week after that, he's coming back to talk about lawn care, and that should be great as well. And so follow us, theaverageguy.eventbrite. If you follow me there, by the way, you'll get a notification whenever I post something new. So you can do that as well. And then down there in YouTube, subscribe, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done that already. That way you know when we go live. And if you hit the like button, it helps with the discovery process. Big thanks to Mark Robson, who joined us last week. Mike, I did a roasted chicken on Sunday based on what you guys said. And then we pulled that apart and put it in some chicken noodle soup. And that was dynamite. We took some of the meat, made quesadillas on Tuesday with it. The girls are already like, make another one of those. Have you done any grilling since our show last week?
Well, first off, let me say I saw that on Twitter and my mouth started to water. And then the soup was such a good idea to put that then into the chicken noodle soup. Super good. Yeah, we have been grilling just as much as we were last week leading up to that show. I think we ran out of our pork. So Hannah's like, kind of like the chicken, right? Fire up another pulled pork this weekend, do another pork shoulder. But Hannah's been doing the same thing. Quesadillas with the pulled pork.
Oh, yeah.
Really, really good. That's what I love about chicken, pulled pork. You can make a million different recipes. So leftovers, you're solid.
Aaron, have you been getting out in the van and have you been doing any grilling? That's the catch up we want to do with you. How are those two? I know it's been super cold, so probably not in the van, but you can grill in cold weather. Have you been doing either?
We can. We charcoal grill more than anything, so it's not that easy to stand out in -20, -15, even -10 weather and, tend to your charcoal.
Right.
So we have not actually grilled, although I guess it was just yesterday. I got the new BioLite camp stove kit delivered. And the camp stove is this little, almost like a tin can size and shape stove that's got a grill top on it that you can add. And you can grill on it, as the name would indicate. So we fired that up last night on our front porch and made burgers. So that was the first barbecuing we've done this season. And it actually turned out great. It made me realize how much I miss good barbecue. Oh, so good.
What's the name of it again?
It's called the BioLite Camp Stove and Grill.
Okay.
I've actually reviewed a bunch of BioLite's gear, and they do a lot of like kind of off-grid camper stuff, backpacker kind of gear. That's really cool. Really cool.
All posted over at techgadgetscanada.com. Is that where folks would go?
It is, in fact. Yeah, you can check out the camp stove. I reviewed their original camp stove a couple years ago. That's up there. It's also on the YouTube channel. And what else did they put out? They've got a bunch of cool rechargeable lighting options as well for camping and RVing. And then this new camp stove kit with the grill also comes with they call it a kettle pot, but it's basically a kettle that you can use either as a kettle or a pot when you're camping or cooking. So I'm going to try that bundle out, hopefully as soon as we get enough nice weather to go camping or out in the camper van.
How do you, with this current situation that's going on, can you guys go camping? Are campsites open? Can you go out and get some of that done, or what? Have you looked into it?
No, we've looked into it and everything is basically closed right now. They shut down our national parks here in Canada and our provincial parks, which is just as well because we've been pretty slow on our van build, our van conversion, thanks to the -20, -30 weather up until the last week. So we haven't had a chance to get much done.
Yeah. Well, you will do that. We're getting some questions in the chat room. What's the fuel on that stove? How does it fuel?
Great question. So it's meant to use sort of just found fuel that you would have at a campsite wherever you are. So you start it with dry leaves, twigs, and sticks, and then you can put in gradually sort of larger pieces of wood. The stove itself is really only like almost kind of the size of two fists put together. So, I mean, it's not huge and it's this little cylinder. So you do constantly kind of have to feed it. Okay. But it's got a power pack that is attached to the side. So the power pack will actually take the energy from the fire, turn on a fan so that it fuels the fire to keep things going. And then that extra energy that it's storing up in the power pack, naturally, you can use to charge up your smartphone, your camera battery, whatever you need using a USB plug. You can plug it right in.
That sounds totally nerdy. just to be honest,
it's for the nerdy camper for sure.
Yeah. Is it like a rocket stove then, in the sense where they're trying to draw, or it's trying to draw kind of the heat through it and push it out and use that heat? Did you try rocket stoves? A couple years ago, they were super popular. Did you ever try the rocket stove concept?
No, I haven't. It sounds like it's something similar, though.
Well, it's a little bit similar and maybe different in the sense it's like a 1, 2, 3 sizing. So if you have a foot opening for the fuel that's going in, you need a 2-foot box at the bottom for the fuel box, and then you have a 3-foot tall chimney, and it creates a draft that pulls that air in then and makes really efficient use of any fuel. When you said you don't need a lot of fuel, right? And this is one of those rocket stoves where you kind of don't need sticks and twigs. It will do just fine, right? You get it started and then you can kind of run this thing super efficient, and it'll heat up water or beans, whatever right. You'd have at the campsite, right? It would do. I don't know if I cook burgers on it. I guess it'd have to be pretty big, but you can take some bricks and make kind of like a makeshift rocket stove wherever you go. Kind of designed or thought about for third world countries because they have such trouble smoke coming out and the lung, the lung damage that does. This rocket stove, because of the design, very little smoke. It kind of maximizes the heat and then doesn't smoke a lot. And so if you go on YouTube, listen, there's a rabbit hole for you. If you go on YouTube and put rocket stove in, you'll spend all weekend on all these different kinds of rocket stoves that folks have built. So, well, we want to go with some of the things that you have tonight, and you changed websites since the last time we heard. You had Tech Gadgets Canada, but you also had your own. But I noticed, did all those move? Are you full time on Tech Gadgets Canada now?
I finally made a huge move. Actually, anybody that has a website or a domain, I'm not going to get too deep into this because it's also very nerdy, but I started a website a long time ago, which was Aaron LYYC. And that was sort of meant to be my fun blog. And then when I moved more into doing more tech stuff, I rebranded it with Tech Gadgets Canada. But because I could never figure out how to properly transition the old domain to the new domain, I just had the new domain pointing at the old domain. So for years, and I was afraid of losing my, ranking in Google and losing all my traffic. So finally, just in the last week, I got some good help doing the changeover and migrating the whole site over. And then my traffic promptly just crashed into the garbage, but it had to be done. So it needed a bunch of back end work as well. So.
Well, the only reason I noticed is because I installed a WordPress plugin to kind of monitor broken links. And of course, I had tons of your links, the old links on my site. And of course, they all came up broken. And I was like, oh, what's going on? The site go down. And so then I saw you had redirected those. So I spent a little bit of time updating. So I did my part of updating all your links, all your old links to get those over to the new site. But it looks good. I know it's same content, and I was like, oh, she must have completely moved. So again, if you want to catch up with Erin and all the work that she's doing, you should follow her over at techgadgetscanada.com. Follow her on her YouTube page as well. I do that, or subscribe, I guess is the right word. I do that, and you put out a video every other day. It seems like something like that. Pretty manageable to watch, and some great content. What's your goal on that? What would be best case scenario for you on YouTube production?
Man, every time I set a new goal for myself, I get there kind of sooner than I think.
Yeah.
It was just a couple of years ago. I thought, wow, man, if I had 1,000 subscribers, I would feel really good about myself. And I hit 1,000. I was like, well, what's the next milestone? I was like, 2,000. And then when I hit that, I was like, okay, let's aim bigger. 5,000, 10, 20. So I'm just under 30,000 right now, which I'm really proud of. But now I figure now I've got to set something that's really big. So maybe I'll go for 100,000 subscribers and see where that puts me.
Yeah, 100,000 is good. That's a good number to shoot for. I think I am at 12 or 1,300 here at the averageguy.tv, and I have a live channel and a edited channel, which just isn't confusing at all. So whatever the things that we do right. Let's talk a little bit about what you're reviewing. You got a hold of this LG Gram laptop. You didn't get to keep it, unfortunately. It sounded like it was a short-term review for you. What's interesting, and the reason I wanted to lead off with this, is kind of PCs had kind of nobody was talking about PCs for the most part anymore. We always were because we're nerds that way. But the general market had, and maybe you've sensed this, but when everybody went home, PCs are back. PC sales have skyrocketed. They're sold out in some places. Everybody had to buy a computer or an extra one. They may have had one. It's them and them spouse at home. Have you noticed since you did this review, have there been folks coming out of the woodwork kind of looking for this now that PCs are hot again, at least for the short term?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of interest. And I think you're right. I think it's a lot of people working from home. A lot of people need that extra laptop for, their kids if they're doing school over the laptop. And yeah, getting a lot of interest. And my main reason for wanting to do that review, I don't generally review a lot of laptops or computers just because, you can be so specialized about this and know so much detail. And that is not me. But I have a Dell PC that I use for some other work that I do. And it's this tank, it's fat, it's heavy, it's ugly, it's a workhorse. And I just thought, it works fine, but what more is out there? Like the screen is okay, you know, it's heavy. So I was really interested in trying out the Gram, because the proposition of the LG Gram laptop is that it's ultra lightweight. It's got this massive 17-inch screen. The screen is supposed to be super vibrant. And I just thought, like, come on, how much greater could it really be than the PC laptop I'm using now? It's a lot greater. It's very nice. So I got my hands on it for a couple of weeks and got to play around with it. And the screen is amazing. You know, it's like the first time you see 4K TV or something. You just sort of, it pops for you. And the colors are amazingly vibrant. And it's so thin and it's lightweight. And, you know, you can carry it with 2 fingers. And so many great things about it just from a basic consumer average user perspective.
It kind of, from the review that I watched, it kind of puts the best of 2 worlds together. If you're a big screen person, if you like that kind of screen real estate, and then if you like the, you know, if you like kind of a light, something you can carry around with you. And this may make a great laptop both now and later, as far as once we start moving around again. Do you feel like, is this one you'd close the lid and maybe kind of carry with you? Sometimes our laptops have gotten, well, I'm just going to plug it in and leave it at home. It's kind of been a desktop. We plug it into a couple monitors. It doesn't go very far. Do you feel like you take this one with you?
100%. And I travel both short distance, and if I'm going, you know, somewhere much more distant, I usually have a laptop with me. And I mean, this one's so light, I could pack it as a second laptop if I needed for different work, along with the MacBook that I usually travel with. But I mean, the screen size, you're mentioning the screen size, and just if you want that sort of big screen experience, I think a lot of people have those smaller laptops because they want them to be more portable and a little lighter weight. But with this one, you don't have to compromise. I mean, you can still have that giant size, but because it's so thin and light, you get the best of both worlds.
You on the screen there, here, I'll go back to it. It's got a finger. Okay, now the beer is kicking in for sure. That's a fingerprint reader. There we go. Built right into the power. I haven't seen that before. I'm sure they've been out there, but does it work? Is it convenient? Windows has some things, you know, you're a Mac person. It was fun to watch your review from a Mac perspective, because there's all these new things in Windows. You're like, oh, it'll do this and it'll do that. And we on the Windows side are kind of used to that, you know, but it was fun to watch you to do that. Did that work fairly well for you?
I'll turn that right back around on you, because the MacBook Pro that I have has a fingerprint scanner in it. So I'm used to using it that way.
Yeah.
And it did work really well. I would say sort of you just touch it down to open it up and power it on.
Okay.
And it's pretty lightning fast. I mean, by the time you've lifted your finger off the key, it's ready to go. So super speedy. And that reminds me, before I send it back, I should remove my fingerprint from it so they can actually get back into it.
Yeah.
Note to self.
Did you try Windows Hello? Also has the ability to for facial recognition, where you can log in with a Face ID. Did you try that at all when you were in Windows?
No, I actually didn't notice if this one had it.
Yeah, not all cameras support it.
Good question.
Most of the new ones do. So we just kind of wondered if you'd given that a try. It's a pretty. How did you feel about the processor that came with it? Just from you don't dig into the specs on it, but how did it feel? Is it pretty zippy? Did it work pretty well for you?
It seemed to. I mean, that's the thing with a new laptop. I set this one up just as a new laptop. I didn't pull over a lot of data. Normally, I have a lot of video and a ton of photos on my laptop. So, I mean, for me, it damn well better be fast at that rate. It would be interesting to see what it was like if I pulled over everything that's on my MacBook and put it on and then tried to use it. So, but I shared laptops and loaner laptops, you don't really want all your personal information floating around the internet. So
right. Yeah. Battery life, did you get it long enough to you still have it. Did you feel like it? They always advertise, like, oh, get 100 hours of battery life, and you get 50. Did you feel, nobody's gotten 50, but do you feel like it was it would work like all day for you?
It did. I mean, I had it sort of playing with it on and off over pretty detailed over the course of about a week, and I didn't have it plugged in at all. So every time I'd sort of open it, use it for a little while, close it up, put it back. I don't think I charged it all week. So I didn't try and run it down. I think the battery life, they say, is supposed to be about 17 hours. I didn't try and test that out. But I mean, off and on for a week without the need for charging was pretty good to me.
Okay. Yeah. So that lived up to it. And then, of course, it's in a typical Windows laptop fashion. It's got a headphone jack, which would have been handy tonight. We should have made you podcast on that tonight. That would have been.
We could have. I should have thought of that.
Darn it. Well,
or get 2 camera angles going.
Yeah, a couple USB ports in there. If you could you use this long term? You know, you're a Mac person, but if this was something you were going to go with, could you see yourself using this long term?
Well, I used to be a PC user, I would say up until about probably 6 or 7 years ago. So, and I do use a PC in some other work life. So yeah, I mean, definitely. I would love to upgrade from the Dell that I have, the tank workhorse of a Dell that I have, to something like this, the LG Gram. But I'm not ready to switch from Mac yet. Okay. All of my life, all of my video, all of my devices, everything is integrated across the Apple ecosystem. And I just feel like it would be terrifying to try and migrate everything back over to PC.
Yeah, Mike has made the jump. In fact, he's configuring his Windows box as we're speaking right now, Mike. So it can be done, right, Mike? You can make the jump to Windows, right?
Yeah, and I run both systems. We have a MacBook Pro upstairs. Mainly that has become my wife's computer for teaching, and I've gone full Windows down here. There are a few things I miss, like iMessage and some built-in features that ran with my iPhone really well, but the jump's not terrible. It wasn't as bad as I thought. It did take Jim. How many years have I been with you, Jim? 5 years now, podcasting with you to make the jump. Yeah. So stick around long enough, Aaron, and he might convert you.
Well, if I had to. The other thing I was playing with recently was the LG V60 dual screen smartphone. So trying that along with the laptop, it was like, wow, do I have to send the phone back? Because this is pretty amazing.
Yeah, let's take a look at this thing. Let me bring this up, and you tell me if I've got the right. Is this the right thing?
That is the one, yes.
Is that what we're talking about?
LG V60 ThinQ 5G dual screen.
That sounds pretty fancy. What'd you think? Tell me a little bit about how'd you like it?
I really, really like it. I'll pop it up here. I don't know how well you can see it.
Let me get you full screen.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's huge. I'll pop that charger off. It's huge, but it's not as big and obtrusive as you might think. It's also not as thick as you might think. So, I mean, by the time you get a case on your average smartphone, I mean, where's my iPhone?
Yeah.
Here? Like, for those of you who can't see the video, they're basically about the same thickness. So the LG phone over here has 2 screens attached to it, and it's pretty much the same thickness as the iPhone. So it's pretty amazing, though, the way that you can multitask on a phone with 2 screens. So this one essentially opens up like a book, and you can put one window onto one side of the screen and a different window onto the other. So, I mean, if you want to have your social media feeds on one side while you're watching YouTube, while you're watching this podcast, for example, you can do that. It's also got different gaming apps and things built into it. So you can get, you can use it horizontally. You can get a gaming controller on one side and, your game on the top. So there's all kinds of really cool things that you can do with this phone. And I mean, the screen is it's super hot. It's so clear, so sharp, so colorful, so vibrant. I mean, I've only had this phone, I would say, for maybe not even a week, and I've been playing with it kind of off and on, but I love it. Like, I love the 2 screen thing. It's so fun.
How do you find the hard part on those dual screens has been the hinge? That is kind of what's tripped everybody up, right? And I think Samsung made a run at a single screen that folded. That didn't work. I think they're finding sometimes that on those dual screens that dust or dirt is getting between the 2 screens and then grinding a little bit in there as you you think you close it. Now it's screen to screen. Is there something in there to kind of stop that from happening so you're not rubbing 2 screens together when you close it? Or
I would say yes. They've got kind of a little bit of a bezel, and the way so the way you operate the second screen is the one phone is basically just a phone,
Right.
and you slide it here. Maybe I can actually show you guys.
And it detaches
basically slide
too,
it
right?
into this case. Yeah. So the second screen is actually part of a case. So that lets you there. So screen one, main phone,
and that's like a
looking
note,
phone.
like that's like note size.
Yeah.
That's right. That's a big note, basically.
Yeah. Big and tall, super wide screen.
Right.
So you've got the phone, and then the second screen comes in. I mean, this is just like a plastic case essentially with the second screen built in, and it's attached, and it's got the hinge in it. Like you say, it's not really an open hinge. It's quite well sealed, I guess. And it's like 360 degrees. So you can open it all the way open or all the way closed.
Yeah.
And then if you want to add that second screen, you just pop the phone into the case, and then usually takes just a second for it to load up. And then the second screen will connect to it. So, I mean, easy to use one screen if you want, use both, switch them around. And there we go.
8K video recording. How's the battery life been on that thing? So 8K, you said dual 6.8-inch OLED, a detachable 2-screen design, 5,000 milliamp. I know that's not what that is, but that a battery. Have you found the battery? Is it an all day? Will it last all day?
I haven't used it enough to know like what the sort of day-to-day battery life is. But again, this is another one that I've been playing with on and off, and I haven't had to recharge it. I just set it down. I would say it was about 30% before we started, and I set it down on the charging mat because it also has Qi charging, and it's at 100% already. So
does it have a fingerprint reader? Sorry, Mike, but does it have a fingerprint reader on there for you?
Yeah, there's one embedded under the screen.
Okay, good. Mike?
Yeah, did I miss it? So how does the second screen get charged?
So it charges off the main phone, as far as I understand.
So that case connects. It's not just sitting in the case. There's a connector between the case and the phone.
Yeah, there's a little nub in the bottom that almost like if you've ever had a charging case, right? You know how you sort of slide those in and they connect and it powers up. So that's what it's got.
That makes sense. Okay.
So screens not touching then, Aaron, when you close that, since you got, do they touch, do you think, in there, or?
They don't seem to, because there's enough of a little, I don't know how well it'll show up, but a little tiny bezel that, you know, maybe there's a millimeter or two, probably not that much between them, but I mean, I can see a little bit of daylight sort of between them in here. So I don't feel like they're rubbing. If anything, I feel like it's just the bezels that have closed on each other.
Okay. Because that has been the complaint, right? So you fold it, if anything gets stuck in between those, and then you put that in your pocket, you now have a hinge point on the screen. I'm assuming they're offering, or there's maybe some screen covers that you could put on this as well. I would be hard pressed to close that thing and put it in my pocket. I would be super, super afraid. Somebody asked in the chat room, the Gram, the laptop Gram that we were just talking about, flimsy or not? And that seems very, very stable. Was the Gram flimsy, or was that pretty stable for you?
Great question. It actually, I debated whether I felt like it felt cheap. Because when I would sometimes pull up the top of the laptop, it did have a bit of flex to it. So, you know, if you kind of lift it by one corner instead of at the middle, it would sort of pull the corner up before it would catch the rest of it to open. So I was a little concerned about that. So I was reading up a bit more about, you know, the specs of it, because I thought, man, like, if this hits the floor once, it's toast. But they ran it through a whole bunch of military testing, and it passed, I don't know, like something like 7 or 8 different military grade tests for durability. So because it has to go back, it's not mine. I don't want the responsibility to have to buy this laptop back. I didn't drop test it. I didn't toss it in the bathtub. I didn't try and, you know, break the screen or any of that.
Burn it, drag it behind a car, run over it. You didn't do any of those things, right? Yeah.
No. But it sounds like it's passed those tests. So, I mean, it does have that lighter, more flexible design, but I'm going to trust that LG's, you know, that it's going to still be. Yeah.
Does that hinge on the phone then? So laptop, I saw that in the video, seemed a little flimsy, but laptop, the phone, how does that feel?
It actually feels pretty substantial, and I think it has a lot to do with the case that you're kind of forced to take along with this if you get this second screen. I mean, the case feels pretty durable when it's on, and the bezels, it's sort of wrapped all the way around the bezels, so it actually does feel pretty secure, pretty solid.
Does it come with the second screen automatically, or do you have to buy that? So the phone is $1,000. By the way, that LG Gram retails about $1,800. I think it starts at $1,800. So it's ultra. It's in the ultra category there. This starts at $950 US. Do you have to add the screen on, or does that come with it? Do you know?
From what I understand, the second screen is optional. So you can get I guess it would be the V60, and then you can add the second screen to it. But I'm not 100% sure. I actually haven't gone through yet and looked at the pricing or availability.
Yeah. Let's look at the accessories really fast and see if they have those cases. They do have cases, screen protectors, all the things you would expect to have for the phone already ready to go. There's been some comments in the chat room. Joe had mentioned that he'd had a V20 and it was a good phone. Tony said he saw, I'm assuming he's talking about the Gram. He saw one at Costco, felt a little flimsy and cheap, which you said that in your video, by the way. You were very open about that. LG said Joe says LG makes great phones, not so great with their updates.
Good to know.
Yeah. And Tony does say with or without a second screen. Oh, wait, hold on. What's he saying? They loved another podcast I listened to. Love this phone with or without the second screen. So something to look at. I mean, if it's $1,000, that's actually not too that far
standard
off of
these
some
days,
of the new
right?
iPhones, right? It's kind of almost like not a MacBook, iPad mini size, like, right? I mean, what's the iPad mini? How big is an iPad mini, Mike? Do you know off the top of your head? See, I totally converted you.
You have. I don't even know the specs anymore.
But
I would guess 7 inches.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's 6.8. So that's a good size.
Yeah.
Like that's a big old honking phone for $1,000. That's not bad for actually the way phone prices are going right now.
That's average. I think the new Pixel phones are around the same price, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, I think they are indeed. So here's the question. Would you buy it?
Yes. Because honestly, just for the second screen alone, leaving aside, me and my Apple world, but the screen's amazing. I love the functionality of it. I mean, for me as a blogger, as a YouTuber, as someone who is constantly on their phone, for work and play, this would do so much for me. Yeah, I love it. I'm going to be crushed when I have to send it back.
Well, you'll have to just buy it when it comes out. I imagine you could then table tent that. So put it with the camera and make it, and then set it on the table in front of you, either in landscape or portrait, right? To have it that way. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That'd make a nice little for video conferencing. A lot of folks doing that now. I took my first work call ever from the deck today. Yeah. There you go. So is there a camera on the second screen at all then? Or is it only on the first screen?
So that's a good question, because I don't see it in here. I haven't dug that deep into it, Jim. You're asking me questions now for my that'll have to put in the write-up.
Yeah, you'll have to.
It's a good question though.
Yeah, you'll have to include those in. It's I've done a bunch of work. I've done like some happy hour. We're doing a bunch of virtual happy hours where I work. So, 4:00 on a Friday or whatever, bunch of us jump on a Zoom call or Teams or whatever we're on, and enjoy a beverage, or in some cases I'm meeting with some guys for cigars. And so I've done a ton of those out on the deck, but I haven't done an actual meeting from the deck yet. And today was the day. It was so beautiful out there. I just went out and held my phone and chatted with somebody. The difference was, I think 8 weeks ago, people were like, seriously, like you're out on your deck kind of taking calls. Today they're like, cool, you're out on your deck. Like, because everybody, I should say everybody, lots of folks are in the same boat. Mike, have you done anything outside yet?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot outside. And the guy across the street, he set up his whole Husker tailgate setup, and underneath his tent, he has his computer and monitors. He's just out in his driveway. Now he's doing it because they're redoing his basement. But I'm like, it's a pretty smart idea. Just come outside, pop up your tent.
Yeah. Aaron, how have you guys handled, do you guys both work at home there in your household all the time? And so you guys have figured out how to do this. That seems to be, besides the dogs, that seems to be the hardest thing as I'm running into people or talking to people, both spouse coming home, about both coming home at the same time kind of seem to be the grind. If that's the case, you've been doing this for a long time. And if that's the case, how do you guys handle that, knowing you're taking calls? In your case, you're shooting video. You kind of need to be quiet, right, from time to time. How do you guys handle that? How do you make that work?
Honestly, we have a meeting in the morning where we talk about sort of what's on the agenda, usually over coffee and the morning news. But we'll sort of set out, what have you got on the go today? Here's what I've got on the go. I'd love to get down in the studio at some point this afternoon. Great. I'll take my calls out on the deck. So we usually just, our house is big enough that my office is upstairs, his is downstairs. My studio is downstairs, and the rest of the bedroom and all the other stuff is upstairs. So it's easy enough for us to sort of say, I need to go use the studio, so he'll come and work in the dining room, for example.
You do a lot of shoots.
It's a meeting.
Well, that's actually a great idea. Actually, I'm going to steal that advice, because you kind of have a daily production meeting. It's like, hey, here's the things coming up. Here's what we need to walk through. I don't know. We do that at work all the time. I don't know if I would have thought to just take that extra step and do half an hour and kind of coordinate some things during the day. You don't have children running around, but you got dogs. How do you handle the pets because you're trying to shoot, you got cameras rolling, that kind of stuff. How do you handle that?
Well, the dogs usually end up in my videos in one way, shape, or form. Not usually by my choice. I'm usually trying to push them out of the shot, and they're like, nope. I was doing some yoga today after work, although when is after work really? And neither of them, they were both on the yoga mat. They're like, wow, this is fun. You're down in our space. We'll come hang out with you. But for us, that part's been really fun, is that we take the dogs for a walk first thing in the morning, kind of before the day gets underway. And then we'll take them for another walk towards the end of the day. And then we've got a backyard where they can go out during the day. But it's nice because it gets us up and out and moving and gets us some exercise. It's good for the dogs. It's good for the humans.
Yeah. There's lots of memes going on right now of the dogs hiding. Like, I can't take another walk. Mike, you take Petey out at all? And
he is loving it. He is, first of all, we're home, which he enjoys. And then him and Harrison, my youngest, are just best friends. And so he's been outside with them all day. Petey's the dogs, I feel like across the world, are just in heaven right now.
Yeah, it's the best time ever. The cats, not so much.
No, the cats hate it.
Why are you still here? Don't you need to be somewhere else? So that's been pretty funny. A couple comments from the chat room. Tony thinks that the Note 10 Plus is 6.4, and that Dual was 6.8. I think is what we is that right?
I think so.
So a little bit.
So.
Dennis says he'd be hard pressed to leave his iPhone. He says he's getting the new iPhone 11 Pro that's coming up. So good for you.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of I've kind of locked down the big purchases at the moment. Kind of like, well, let's just kind of see where the economy goes before I start rolling into new purchases. Minus reviews. Of course. So you're able to get those. As individuals and families have come home and they've had to set up home offices, lighting has been a big deal. And I don't think people realize how spoiled they are at work, that work buildings in most cases are built for lighting, right? They're lit well. You never think about turning that thing on or off. It just is on all the time. You generally don't struggle. But we came home and we had trouble with lighting. You spent a little bit of time looking at that. What have you found? What have you looked at? Are you finding too people are kind of like, oh my God, I need to do something about lighting in my office?
Yeah, I'm as I think you guys would know, I'm a big lighting person anyway. I love the smart lighting. I love colored lighting. I worked for a lot of years in a TV environment where you're literally in a small dark room for 3 or 4 hours at a time. So I love the sunlight. I like being near a window. I want as much light as possible when I'm trying to work. evening wind down time, I'm cool with being in the dark. But when I'm working, I want to see what I'm doing. I want to be awake. I don't want anything that's going to make me feel kind of sleepy and tired. So I'm a big advocate for the proper lighting. So I did, actually just before the whole COVID lockdown happened, I did a home office makeover. I thought it was time. So I made a bunch of upgrades. I changed the overhead fixture in my home office from sort of the builder standard basic one bulb fixture to a really cool starburst fixture that I absolutely love. And it was only a couple $100. I installed it myself. Super easy, 3 wires to deal with. It makes such a difference now. It's on a dimmer switch, so I can sort of control the level of light through the day.
LED.
And I mean, just that, yeah, they're LEDs. Mm-hmm. And just that alone, like, makes me so happy when I come in and look at it. What else did I do? I added some task lighting. So I added a desk lamp and put a smart Philips Hue bulb into it. And then I've sort of got some ambient lighting, which is actually, you can't really see it, but it's kind of on behind me. And what I'll do is, if it's cloudy and gray outside, I'll turn the lights, pink or orange or something just to brighten the office up. If it's stinking hot outside, which hasn't happened yet, by the way.
Yeah.
It's you can turn them blue. Sure it is, Jim. You can turn them blue, green, or purple, and it sort of cools off the room feel. What do
you have behind there? What is that, the Hue light that you had that changes colors?
Yeah, so that one's the Philips Hue Go lamp. Philips Hue has a couple of just small lamps. The Hue Go lamp is actually a portable lamp, so you can charge it up and then take it with you. This one just lives sort of on an AC plug here with me, but I've got it sort of tucked under a table. So it just sort of fills the area behind the table with some ambient light. So it's not sort of direct, but it just makes the room look nice.
Yeah, no.
I added that.
I love that you, and that's an area I don't think about at all. And Mike, I don't know about you, but I don't think about how the color, the actual colors can affect our mood. Have you ever thought about, I know you've got some adjustable lights down in your studio there, right? You can change some colors of that stuff, but have you ever thought
maybe
about
I need to start eliminating stress by changing them. I have the remote around here somewhere, but it's only this strip of lights right above here. No, I hear people say it all the time. I've never tried it, to be honest. Does it work? Does it feel any different?
I find that it does. I think you can change the whole feel of a room with the light. And in the wintertime, when it's really cold outside, you can ask your Hue light to turn everything to candlelight, for example. And it just warms the room. It just makes you feel warmer. I love it. I find it has, maybe it's just me, right? Maybe I want to feel the effects of that light. So, what's that? The placebo effect or something. But I like it. I find that it does make me feel warmer or cooler.
Yeah. And I think it's something. Do you have any mood lighting in your kitchen? Have you installed colored lights in there where you can change? Because I think that's maybe one of the better spots to use that kind of lighting, depending upon what you're cooking or what time of the day it is. Do you find that to be true?
Yeah, I think we've got smart lighting we've got it in the living room, the dining room, the kitchen, the home office, and our theater. So, you're absolutely right. You want to dim the lights and kind of wind the day down, put on some fun colored lighting. We were using red and green at Christmas. We were doing orange lights at Halloween. It can really set the tone or set the mood for whatever you've got going on. If we're having dinner, the dining room lights all get turned to candlelight setting. And that's way better than laying out a whole bunch of candles and turning the rest of the lights off.
It really is. Do you have it set to your assistant to say, "Hey, Lady A, go to candlelight"? Does it do that for you?
I do. I've got here in the home office, I've got them all connected to Google Home. Okay. So I can just come in the morning and tell Google to turn my lights on. Hopefully that didn't just trigger everyone's assistant.
I tried not to do that, but you went there.
I noticed you did.
Okay.
I didn't add the hey.
No, you didn't. And it's I think you'll be okay. I really do.
So some people have a good sense of humor about that, but some people on my YouTube channel do not.
They get really mad.
I get angry comments about people saying you need to learn how to speak to your assistant so that you don't trigger everyone else's. And then I get other comments that say, ha ha ha, that's so funny. And I think they feel like they're playing along with me, that their lights change when I ask for it to change or whatever.
I was, speaking of like, so you're thinking about coming home and some different mood light settings you can set during the day. If you've been in an office, I'm down here in the basement all day, and I actually set up a webcam to my front door that's got a picture of the neighborhood. So I kind of view it was meant to be we call it the delivery cam or the box cam, right? That's the one that kind of it used to be where they would put, when they put packages down, that's where we'd monitor it so nobody'd steal it, right? It's actually become my window to the world. And so as I'm down here in the basement all day, I've got this up it's running Sighthound, so it's up all day. And I can kind of look out there, see what's going on. And I do get out from time to time, but it is nice to have that. Light can replace that, right? In the sense that you can do some things with your lighting during the day, and there's all kinds of home automation to be able to set those different moods for the day, including changing the colors to be a little more soothing towards the end of the day, like just kind of settle those things down. One of the things I was really surprised about when we sent all our employees home, 6 weeks ago, I heard from a few who were like, oh, I didn't bring a second monitor home, right? I didn't do that. And now hold on, I got to get the scene right here. Hold on. I'm really messing this up. There we go. So it's like, what do I do now with just one screen? I kind of thought, because of our network here and all the guys that I hang out with, and we've actually in our Discord group over the last couple of days everybody's kind of been taking pictures of their setup at home, and it's ridiculous the number of monitors that I see guys with, but that's not normal. Aaron, you spent a little bit of time on that post talking about adding a second screen. Do you get feedback from your listeners that like, is this a new thing for some folks? Were they pretty much just a laptop only?
Yeah, I do get the feedback, and I have heard the same thing, that people who are used to having two monitors in their workplace are just, crying because they can't adapt.
Yeah.
And I hear that for sure. So again, conveniently, I guess, Apple launched its new operating system with a feature called Sidecar. So for those users who have like a MacBook Pro, what Sidecar allows you to do is add a second monitor that's an iPad. So if you're like me and you're in the Apple ecosystem, you can take the iPad you already have with the MacBook you already have, set them up side by side, and it provides you that extra second monitor. So once you've got them connected, you can drag and drop windows across to the two, open up your social feed in one. If I'm doing video editing and I want to keep an eye on something, I've got that second monitor open. Super convenient. And I think it solves the second monitor problem for a lot of people, that already have some of these gadgets in their home.
Yeah.
I left the Mac ecosystem when that update came out, and I've been super curious, like, is it pretty rock solid when you go to use it? Because, there have always been those third-party apps before that tried to use the iPad second monitor, and they weren't the best. They were okay, but now that Apple has kind of brought it in-house, is it better?
It's brilliant. So it will stay connected. Like, as long as the laptop is sort of on and running, it's rock solid. Moving the windows back and forth is pretty seamless. If I do need to disconnect it, it's a simple click. Another click to reconnect it. I find it works really well. I've pretty much got this as my setup now permanently, and I love it. And it's really hard if I ever, have to take the laptop out into another room to go do something. It's like, oh, where's the iPad? I need to
bring the iPad too. Yeah.
So you can get used to it. Yeah. Fortunately, everything is portable now. So
I have a 34-inch widescreen curved monitor from work that I got just, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago. And when they first sent us home, I was like, I don't know if I want to take that thing home. Like, because I literally thought we were going to be home for a couple weeks, 3, maybe 4 at the most. And then after a week at home, I was like, I gotta have that monitor. So I contacted the office and said, hey, I'm coming in. We were controlling the number of people who could be in the office at a time. So they're like, hey, it'd be better if you came in after hours. And I went and picked up that thing. And man, am I glad that I did. There has been, I don't even use the laptop screen. I changed the settings so that the laptop can stay closed. It actually sits in the back. It's basically just a PC for the most part. And then I run everything off that 34-inch. And then I have a 24-inch touchscreen above it that's connected to it as well. So I kind of have, instead of having side by side, I have 2 on the bottom and 1 on top, and all the Teams and all the Zoom calls and all those things, all that's up top, and then all the work is down below. And man, I can't imagine. And I think I'm going to be home for the rest of the year. Like I don't know if I'm going back this year. They've kind of said, hey, even when people are allowed to go back, we're gonna be real generous about working from home. And I was like, well, okay, I have all my stuff, and I really like the setup. So I think that second monitor, by the way, a run on PCs and a run on monitors, and there's never been a better time to buy a monitor. They are cheap. Like even with a little bit of a run on them. Mike, you just picked up a new one. What did you get?
So I got a 27-inch 1080p. It's beautiful, like pretty much zero bezel around the outside. It's an Acer branded monitor, 144 hertz refresh rate for 197.
Yeah.
And for ridiculous. A 27-inch that you couldn't get it, especially with the high refresh rate. So, and even if you wanted 1440p, which for work purposes you don't need, but if you're gaming or watching media content on it. But Jim, it's so funny that you say that you're going to stay home and that you're liking it. You were such a big proponent. You were the crew that even on snow days, like, no, I'm getting in the office. I'm going to be there.
WFW, baby. WFW. I am working from work.
Yeah. That was your phrase. That was your go-to. And now you're a convert, huh? You like it?
I kind of am. Aaron, I'm with you in healthcare. And so she's out. She's still going out and with the public and working in that space. But my daughter's home, and I don't know. I kind of like it. She's home some of the mornings, and we get a little bit of time together. We don't have to have a production meeting to get it done. But maybe we should. I may steal that idea from you. But yeah, I'm kind of liking it. One of the things, Aaron, that we've seen though is our food consumption has changed, our habits, and maybe because you're home all the time. That you didn't notice this, but we're cooking a little bit different. We're using a little bit different, like what we buy. It's a little bit different. And one of the things I noticed, and you reviewed this as well. One of the things I noticed, there's some gadgets that are making their way into the home now. Stuff people could buy at work, or they're used to drinking, or whatever, or just a little bit of just a nice thing to have at home. These caught me off guard, but these kind of sparkling water or seltzer machines, or that makes kind of fizzy water for you, have gotten super popular. I've had 3 coworkers say, you gotta get this thing. I haven't yet, but should I? I mean, you've got one and reviewed it. What do you like about it?
Yeah, you're talking about the sparkling water maker.
Yeah,
and I mean, it's a really different gadget. Those who would be familiar with something like a SodaStream know that it comes with the carbon dioxide tank, and you install it, and that's what carbonates the water. The Sparkle is different though. It doesn't use those carbon dioxide tanks. I keep wanting to call it carbon monoxide. So if I slip of the tongue, please do not use carbon monoxide in your water machine. No. But what this does is it uses essentially powders. It uses baking soda and citric acid in these little sachets that you get from Sparkle. And you dump the sachets into the back of the machine, and then it adds water. So you've got kind of a little water tank in the back. When you're ready to go, it jets a little bit of water in amongst the powder. The powder foams up and creates carbon dioxide, and that's what bubbles the water, essentially.
Nice.
So it does take a bit longer. You sort of put the bottle into the machine, you start your carbonation process. I would say it takes probably about 3 or 4 minutes, but it's much quieter than a SodaStream. I find the water tastes a little bit different too. Not so canned, not so metallic, maybe a touch citrusy, thanks to that citric acid. but not unpleasant. I mean, if I put the water side by side and had you guys taste it, I doubt you'd be able to pick out which was which. But yeah, just sort of subtle differences that when you're tasting these things side by side, you know which is which. You're like, oh yes, I do detect a hint of citric acid.
We are that way. That's we do beer tasting, so we're good at those kinds of
Yeah, there you go. Maybe I'll send you guys bottled water from the Sparkle and the Soda Stream, and we'll do a water tasting.
Might be easier to get past.
I like the beer test.
yeah. Don't get us wrong. Send us beer. That's the better.
Noted.
Do you have both then, Soda Stream and the Sparkle? Do you have both?
I do. I owned a Soda Stream for several years before hearing about the Sparkle, and then got my hands on one of those about a month or two ago. The other really cool thing about Sparkle is that with a Soda Stream, anyway, at least the one I have, you can't carbonate anything but water. And you can't, like, you couldn't do juice, you couldn't do tea. With the Sparkle machine, you can put tea in there, you can put fruit juice in there, you can put liquor or wine in there if you want, and then you run the carbonation process through it, and you've got sort of a sparkling cocktail.
Yeah.
So I did tea. Sparkling tea is actually really great.
Yeah, it does sound
we didn't do any juices, and then I did some red wine. I made a sparkling red wine, which was surprisingly good.
Okay.
Surprisingly good.
And chilled or room temperature?
That one was room temperature. I would definitely chill it next time before drinking it. Yeah.
Well, even like a Zin, or something like that would be. Those kinds of sweeter ones would maybe lend themselves to that.
Or any white. I should do a white, actually. I haven't tried a sparkling white, but that would be a lot like a Prosecco, right?
Well, even a Riesling would sparkle really would do that really, really nicely, right? There's some of those. Yeah, no, that's an interesting difference because you can't with the other one, and with this one you can, and that kind of lends to some more options. Mike, now that you guys are home, have you gone to any kitchen gadgets that are different, or are you using any of them that you had more than you were before?
I'm cranking through the Nespresso pods. But
I didn't know you were an Nespresso guy.
Oh, we are. Yeah. Ever since Christmas time, my wife got one and we've been all on Nespresso, but no, it's not using new gadgets. It's actually getting or using the ones you've had for a while that you've just never had the time to use, right? Like we've had the milk frother for the Nespresso and I've never been one to use it. I'm usually a black coffee drinker. I tell you, I've been doing a lot of frost milk in the Nespresso and man, it's delicious. So that, and just all those things you just never had time to use. And they're like, hey, might make some bread in the bread maker, things like that, right? That you just, now I have a bunch of time. I'm at home.
Yeah. Aaron, have you made any bread yet? Have you gotten on the bread craze, the sourdough bread craze?
I haven't tried the sourdough yet, but I started making bread almost when this started. Like I love baking anyway, but I've never made bread. I've always felt intimidated by it. Okay. So a friend of mine who is actually a really good bread baker, she's like, you don't need to knead bread. There's this really simple recipe. You can do it. It's this no knead bread. Yeah. So she sent me this recipe and I tried it. And wow, it was so easy, so good, so little work. You basically mix it up kind of like at night before you go to bed, let it rise overnight. You get up in the morning, you fold it over once, put it into a bowl, and then heat up the oven, let it sit for another hour or two, and then toss it in the oven. No kneading, it was so easy and it's so good. So good. So then I've been trying other breads. I actually made a video about the no knead bread.
Yeah, that's a good one.
My YouTube channel.
I watched you do that. Yeah, that was a good one.
It was so like nothing. I mean, people come to my YouTube channel for tech and technology, but at that time I was just like, this is all I'm interested in right now is just, making my own food. So people seem to like it though. A bunch of people tried it and said it worked really well for them.
Yeah, you and the whole world. Like my daughter said, hey, we're starting our own sourdough, right? And so because yeast was nowhere to be found. Like we ran out of toilet paper first, and then everybody went for the yeast second. I don't know why those two went together, and I think it was kind of a secret. Like nobody knew yeast was selling out, so you couldn't get yeast. Well, you can take regular flour. You have to get good quality stuff, and you can make. You got to spend a week but you can turn that yeast on in the in the flour and get sourdough bread. So my daughter,
did this work for you? Did it work?
It did. We baked our
It failed miserably for me, so I want to hear this.
Yeah, well, she followed a YouTuber that had the instructions on how to do it, and it's a little complicated to get started. It's a little math. Like you need, first of all, we had to get a digital. We bought a digital weighing thing. What do we call those? Mm-hmm. Scale. Thank you.
Scale.
Too much beer. So we got a digital scale, which is super cool. So she bought that, and we waited for it to come in. We were worried because Amazon was all backed up. So it finally got here. And then you start it with that, and then every day you have to take some out, add some stuff back in, let it sit, take it out, add some stuff, right? You're feeding it, taking it away, feeding it, taking it away. We call ours Susan the sourdough, right? So it's Susie. So she's got a name. And she followed this YouTube. I'll get that YouTube link and put it in the show notes for the show as well, so you guys can watch it. It's super funny. So they basically podcast the baking of this sourdough, and I'll get that over to you, Erin. I think you'll probably appreciate it. And so this weekend, she made her first batch. Now we used a Dutch oven, so we actually took the insert out of an old crock pot. So you get the crock pot and you have that kind of ceramic insert. We also tried a cast iron pot to do it at first, and that was sticky and it just was kind of messy. But that kind of the ceramic insert that went into the crock pot worked perfectly, and the glass dome that goes on top is perfect for it. So you don't have to knead it so much, but you kind of put it together, let it rise, put it together, and then she threw it in there and striped it, and we put it on. Super delicious. Like it was, it actually worked. So we're gonna do soup in bread bowls with it, because that's like we love that. It'll make perfect little it'll make perfect little. I saw that video come across when you published it, and I was like, Erin's making bread.
What is she doing?
Yeah, and actually not long after you published that, Sammy said she'd gotten the scale and we were going to try our own sourdough. Sourdough, of course, has gotten real popular because you make the yeast come out of the flour, as opposed to having to have the yeast kind of in advance. The first batch of the no knead bread you made, I saw you eating it. Was it really as good as you thought it was?
I am not even kidding. Maybe it's because my one friend who's a baker will occasionally drop off a loaf for us, and it's always great. But I've never made my own bread, so I don't know if it's just because I'm so used to store-bought bread that I didn't know how good bread actually was, or how simple it could be. But last weekend I made something called Japanese milk bread, which is, I'm sure you've seen this. It's like the softest, pillowiest, like tenderest bread that you can make. It's almost like the most pristine loaf of like white bread, but like with just a hint of sweetness, and like I can't even describe how good this thing is. So another guy I know from Instagram, he has sort of a cooking channel, and he's on YouTube as well. But he said he made it, and I saw his pictures, and I was like, oh, I've got to get that recipe. So he sent it to me, and I tried it out. And again, surprisingly easy. This one had a few more steps and a little bit of kneading. But after starting with the no knead bread, this felt like it was easy enough to sort of be the next step in the progression of my making bread. Yeah. And I'm making another loaf of the Japanese milk bread this weekend, because it is seriously delicious. Yeah,
it's good to have on hand. Like making your own bread, there's something about it. Mike, have you guys tried doing bread? Or you do that very often?
No, we have not. We're trying.
Your kids would love it. Come on.
I know they would. My wife has come from, she was never someone who cooked. I was the same way. My wife has gotten amazing at it, but we have not delved into bread or anything too complicated yet.
I wonder what smoked bread would taste like.
You were reading my mind. I was like, I wonder, actually, it's like an oven, right? You can cook everything on a smoker. You set the temperature, you put in there, cook pizzas on the smoker.
No, you do.
Not bread.
Yeah. okay.
Well, the no-knead bread you cook in a pot with a lid. Like you just get either a cast iron or a pot and put the lid on it and goes in the oven, right? So you could totally put that on a barbecue or on a smoker.
Yeah. What did you use for your bread? What was the container? Did you cast iron for yours, for your video, Aaron?
I just used a regular pot, I guess, aluminum or whatever, metal.
Ceramic.
Nothing fancy.
Oh, yeah, just regular.
No, not a ceramic one. No.
We found that ceramic
although I have
really well.
I lied. I did do a smaller one in one of the ceramic ones too, but I found they worked kind of equally as well.
Dave McCabe says in the chat room, he says we made something that I think came from a soldier around the World War II era. Not good. It's a great time to practice, I think, some of these recipes. You get families together, they're interesting. We have definitely amped up our cooking. I mentioned earlier that the smoked chicken from last week's show turned out so good. The ladies are like, can you do that again? Now that chicken was $6. And we got 2 meals out of it, maybe 3 when you think about all the stuff. We probably had dinner and a couple lunches out of that chicken noodle soup. And then I just finished it up today, and then we used that chicken for quesadillas. So I think there's some great ways, and it's a fun time to be kind of do some alternative kind of cooking. Speaking of alternative, as we think kind of the last thing we're going to talk with you, Aaron, about, us gentlemen, you ladies probably aren't struggling, but us gentlemen are struggling a little bit with maybe the personal grooming. Now, the haircuts are one thing, but I had never seen this before, but apparently Gillette is making a heated razor. Is that right?
They are. I saw this for the first time at CES, at the Consumer Electronics Show in January. And I was like, what the heck? And they had a couple models out there so you could try it. And, I was pressing it to the back of my hand, and sure enough, it feels warm. Yeah. And I just thought, wow, I need to get my hands on that and try it. So Gillette was kind enough to send me one to test out. And yeah, it heats up. So it comes with this little stand that charges up the razor. And I guess there's sort of a heating bar in the blade, or sort of behind where the blade is. And that's what warms the blade up. So it's got a couple different settings. I can't remember now off the top of my head if it's 2 or 3, but you can sort of adjust the warmth of it. And I found the hottest setting. I shouldn't say hot. It's not searingly hot, but it is really warm.
Okay.
Really warm. So the hottest setting was kind of too warm for me. And I gave it to my husband to try, because I was like, I'm trying it on my legs, but I think it was lost on me a little bit, using it on the legs.
Yeah.
So I had my husband shave with it a few times and asked for his feedback. And he was kind of like, eh. And I was like, well, what don't you like about it? It gets hot. And he's like, yeah, but I can heat up my razor under the hot running water anyway. Yeah. So, do I really need a razor to heat up on its own? He was kind of less than thrilled with it.
About it. Mike, you're cutting your own hair. Mike, you're cutting your own hair. Hannah, I shouldn't say you're doing it. Hannah's doing it for you, right? How are you? It's a week later. I think you cut it last week, right?
Yeah.
You going to do it again?
So she has now not only cut my hair, she's cut the boys' hair. So we have the Philips Norelco. It has a turn dial, and so you can adjust the height of it. It's not really the hair,
the height of the guard, right?
Yeah, the height of the guard. It's meant for facial hair, so it's a facial hair trimmer. Yeah. So it's not the full width of a hair one, but she uses that for the sides, using it on our boys' hair. It's worked really well. Now, she has not had to cut the top, and I'm really worried. So this is getting super long up here because that's the hard part.
You're going with a pompadour.
Yeah, I might have to just start. I don't know. I talked about it. Have you guys watched Peaky Blinders at all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm thinking
I see what you have going
maybe
on.
the Arthur style, where if it gets real, I can pull it straight back, right? And do
I say we embrace this thing.
We should. I agree.
This is a time when you don't get to try these kinds of hairstyles.
Ever. Yeah.
Mine is finally kind of just grown out to where I'm thinking maybe I'll keep it this length. You know, when I'm done, I need some cleanup back here and just some, kind of just a little bit of maintenance. But it's kind of when it's short, it's really gray. And now that it's kind of grown out, it's kind of like the gray. I'm not saying the gray's gone away, but it's a little less subdued. or it's a little more subdued, and I'm like, maybe I'm going to keep my hair long. Aaron, certainly we don't have to worry about all the stuff that you do. How are you handling this crisis, this hair crisis?
The personal grooming.
Yeah.
My timing was impeccable again. I got a ton of haircut off right before lockdown. Okay. I thought I'd lighten things up for the summer, so I cut, I think it was 7 inches off my hair. And so I feel like, yeah, great. Keep it shut down till the end of the year. I'm not gonna have a problem. My hair is pretty easy to manage, so that's sort of been the least of my worries. I do miss getting a massage though. I sit at a desk, as you know, probably a lot of other people do, for many hours a day. So you end up getting that hunch and just everything is sore. So I really miss, being able to go get a massage and just relax that way. But Sephora delivers. So I've been having fun on the Sephora website. What else have I been doing? Trying out some new products on Amazon. So it hasn't been too bad. I was, I would say the first 2 weeks probably of the lockdown, I was full pajamas, no, nothing happening with the hair, no makeup. It was just like, yeah, whatever, no problem. And now my hair has gone crazy. But after about the third week, it started to feel weird. And I just, I'd kind of go into my home office and sit down. But because I wasn't having that part of the morning routine where it's like, get up, shower, get ready, do your hair, makeup, get dressed, it started to feel weird. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go back to the routine. So I've kind of been going through my full morning routine. I really only see my husband, but I've got, hair done, makeup on, clothes on. And I feel better about it.
I bet he appreciates that. Well, maybe not the clothes on part, but I'm sure he appreciates.
Right.
I'm sure he appreciates that. Mike, have you been? And I've been following a schedule almost every day. Sundays would be the only time it's really different. Mike, have you been kind of following a schedule at home?
No.
Listen, don't incriminate yourself. If your employer's listening, I don't.
I'm just talking about like morning routine, right? It's just so weird because with Hannah working at the hospital, I've now got the 3-year-old and the 2-year-old and working all day. It's like trying to balance that, and every morning just something different. It depends on, hey, if those kids are still sleeping for some miracle when I wake up at 6:30, I'm going to get down there as quick as I can and start working, right? But if they're in my bed already, then it's okay. Got to get them breakfast first. So there is no such thing as a standard morning so far. Yeah. And I have also learned that the daycare workers do not get paid enough. I will pay I used to think that was like so much money. I'm like, no, they do. Like, I just don't know how anyone else could do it. It is, it's been a challenge.
Yeah, I'm hearing that a lot. I am super fortunate. I would have killed myself 10 years ago if this would have happened to us. Just with having 5, 10 years ago, we had 5 at home in this house, and it would have been a completely different story the way. And this is easier for me. So, but I'm getting up every morning 6:30, trying to do the same thing, same stuff every day. Just keep it. That was some advice I read early on, like just get really regular. And so just try to keep similar patterns. I've actually developed kind of a new workout plan, and the way I'm doing it throughout the day. So I do little tiny workouts instead of one big workout. I'm doing a little bit at a time. And that's just kind of helping get me out of my chair, get the steps in. I'm trying to complete the rings on the Apple Watch every day, trying to compete with the day before to say, can I do a few more than I did yesterday? Which is dangerous because after 6 weeks, you kind of reach your theoretical max. You can't do anymore. So even though you're saying you should do more, you can't. A couple comments from the chat room. Joe says 2020, the year mullets make a comeback. That could be very possible. Dave says Jim Man Bun Collison. That I don't know. That it's a possibility. I may bring that back. And then other Jim said you'd never see Mike if he stood outside a Big Boy. So I don't know. Mike, do you know what a Big Boy is? A Bob's Big Boy?
I don't.
It's a restaurant. Do you know what Big Boy is? Aaron, have you?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big wavy.
Their mascot has the Peaky Blinders hair.
Yeah, the big. You could totally pull it off, Mike. You could do a pandemic. You should grow out for the pandemic, kind of just the wave.
Swoop it all.
Yeah. It would definitely look good on you.
You could match up with that guy from Ancient Aliens that has the hair that keeps.
What's that
guy's name?
Why wouldn't you? Like this, we're gonna get one. Well, hopefully, we'll get one shot at this to be like, it's pandemic time. Nobody really cares. I haven't gotten a haircut.
I'm just on so many. I'm on so many video calls with external people throughout the day. If it was just internal work people,
yeah.
But
I think people are forgiving for that, man. I think right now you can get away with anything.
Yeah, it's pretty true.
You can hear kids on conference calls.
I know.
So many people on Zoom calls.
Yeah, no. In fact, bring the kids in. Like, let the kids wave. One of the things I found: bring the kids in, engage them for the first 2 minutes. What they really want to see is what's happening. So if you just let them see this is boring work stuff, they're gone. But if you try and shoo them away, they just keep coming back. And so with my coworkers, I'm just like, bring them in, put the headphones on them. And then I start asking them questions like, hey, so what are you doing today? What's your homework like? Tell me a little bit about math. They're out.
Yeah. I don't want to answer this guy.
That's a good strategy.
They're out. They're like, how did you do that? I'm like, I just asked him how their math homework was, and it gets them out. Aaron, thanks for coming back again tonight and being part of our show. For folks who want to follow you and all those things, give us the right ways to kind of keep track of you and where they should subscribe.
For sure. The website is techgadgetscanada.com. The YouTube channel is youtube.com/Aaron Lawrence TV. And I am on Twitter and Instagram at Aaron LYYC. Please like, follow, subscribe, share, and comment. I love hearing from people.
Yeah. And you're really good at it. And so thanks for doing that. Have you noticed an uptick in Twitter since the pandemic? Has Twitter been any different for you? It seems like for me, it's gone an uptick. Have you noticed anything different?
I think so. Twitter, I find, tends to be that news resource. So anytime there's a major, up until now, it's kind of been a local event. I notice a big uptick in it, but I guess, worldwide, everybody still wants to get their news and their information. So I am seeing that on Twitter. YouTube, I found, though, dropped off substantially for me. I would say about the last month, like huge. Wow. And it's like just in the last couple of days, it's kind of gone up through the roof again. So I can't explain it. I don't know why. But.
Yeah, no, that is interesting. I've only been watching YouTube. And so it's I don't watch any TV. Everybody's like, oh, have you seen the tiger thing? And I'm like, no. Have you seen The Great Place? No. I mean, I am so out of touch with network television, but I can tell you, like, I have YouTube channels that I follow. You're one of them. And those are every day I come down, I look at the notification up there. Okay, what's new? What have they done? You just did a new vacuum cleaner review, right? As well. Do you have a new one of those out? Yeah. So Robot. I think that, real recent on that. And so it's kind of fun to keep up with your channel and all the things that are going on there. One of the things I have noticed is when I close out the video and we're streaming there, I used to wait an hour and it was ready for me. And now it's taking 14 or 15 hours for videos to render on YouTube. So wow. I think that speaks to just the amount of traffic that has grown on the site, and it's just a different day. So I don't even try. I used to try and edit, make some early edits, get them rendering overnight so that Friday morning they'd be there. I just blow that off now. It's like, it'll be there on Friday morning when I get there. So Aaron, thanks for joining us. Hang tight for just 1 second here as I close things up. Couple reminders before we go. Don't forget, if you want to support the show, I don't do that via YouTube like some do, but we do have a Patreon page. So if you can go to theaverageguy.tv/Patreon, a couple new folks have joined us, and I don't get permission to use your name, so I won't use it. But thank you if you've been those jumping on the Patreon group. I always appreciate that. Join our Discord group, and Mike, you're doing a great job over there on Discord. So theaverageguy.tv/Discord, brand new barbecue channel, brand new cigar channel. The distributed computing, I think, is going to peak and then go back down. I think we're all kind of over making these or doing these packets for the COVID stuff with folding at home. But Mike, thanks for the work that you're doing there. A great place to get connected. Anything you want to highlight there coming out of the Discord, off the Discord channel? No, just loving that everyone's active, and we picked up a bunch of new members, I think, since the Unraid show especially. So if you're not out there, and you've listened and for some reason you haven't jumped out there, there's conversation about just about everything
if you head over to the Discord. So keep the comments coming, keep the pictures coming. A lot of you have been sharing news about your new builds, which is like, I love nerding out on other people's builds. And I think it helps everyone else, right? Because it helps scratch the itch of needing new hardware.
Yeah.
Or it makes us feel like we need new hardware. Either one.
Yeah.
But keep it coming. There's been a lot of great stuff out there.
You jumped in feet first, my
I
friend.
did. Well, we all joked about this too. We're like, I did that Optiplex upgrade. I'm like, I'm just going to use old recycled hardware, just get myself a little upgrade. And I was like, yeah, that'll last like 2 months. It lasted about 2 months. So.
Yeah. It didn't last long. You're all the way in. So great conversation. TheAverageGuy.tv/Discord. Our Facebook group, TheAverageGuy.tv/Facebook. If you want to do it that way. If you want to contact me, I always appreciate your feedback. Neil always sends me a comment. Neil, I always appreciate when you do that. Jim at TheAverageGuy.tv. Just good to hear from you guys. I've been sending out. The newsletter is up and running again. Not only do we have Eventbrite working, so TheAverageGuy.eventbrite.com, we have newsletters working again. So head over to TheAverageGuy.tv/subscribe. I'm got all this time on my hands, and so I'm actually getting to the things that I should be getting to. And if you want to subscribe to the newsletter, I send out just a little update on all the things that we're doing during the week. Nothing that takes more than 10 seconds to read. Then don't forget the AverageGuy.tv platform powered by Maple Grove Partners. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and trust. We just had Christian back on Cyber Frontiers on Monday. That's out in the channel right now if you want to go grab it. But he's doing a bang-up job over there at Maple Grove Partners. $10 a site gets you web and media hosting. I think $5 for email, Mike. Is that right? Is that the plan that you did?
$5 extra for email. Yeah.
If you want to do email. So $15 gets you a whole bunch of stuff. MapleGrovePartners.com. We appreciate it. If you listen to the show and you support Christian, we appreciate that. And he's got some extra bandwidth. He just moved into a new place and set up some new servers and has some new bandwidth. So if you want to jump on that, you can as well. And then don't forget, last thing, I still have a whole bunch of HelloFresh free week. It's worth $70. It'll get you 2 meals for 4 people. If you're struggling with the cooking, now might be a good time to get some extra recipes and try some things out with HelloFresh. So if you want to give it a try, let me know. Send me an email or just go onto the site and look at the show notes. There's a HelloFresh link there. You can sign up. That's the $40 deal. If you contact me, you'll get a free week at $70. And I don't, listen, I'm not trying to make anything off of them. I'm just trying to improve the quality of what you eat, for God's sakes. So if you want to do that, let me know, and we'll get you on HelloFresh as well. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at TheAverageGuy.tv/live. Mike and I will be some post-show. Maybe Aaron will stay around for a little bit of it as well. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody. Aaron, thank you. It's so great to have you.
Thanks, you guys.
By the way,
it's always fun. I love it.
To have. You're such a pro at this. I just appreciate you.
Thank you.
Rolling. What do you think of all the things that you've reviewed over the last couple months? 4, 5, 6. What's been your favorite?
Honestly, the V60 phone.
It's going to be hard to let that go, isn't it?
It really is. And I pick up my iPhone. I'm like, where is the second screen? So who knows? What else have I got? I got this weird thing
hold on.
too.
Before you move on to that, what do you find yourself going to the second screen for? Like what's been the most helpful? I'll just open
2 things up.
Okay.
Like social and then like email and what was I doing the other day? Like YouTube video on one side and then sort of just monitoring my Twitter on the other. Okay. I was doing a social post and then, keeping one eye on, what was it? Oh, it was a Zoom chat. I was like half paying attention to the meeting and then doing some other stuff on the other screen.
Could you, on YouTube, bring up the video and the chat room? Could the video be on one page and the chat room be on another? I wonder if that would work on that.
Yep.
Because that's really the problem. You can't watch us mobile and be in the chat room for the most part.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, right.
Will it do it on the same screen?
The YouTube app, yeah.
Oh,
when you rotate it in the landscape, it goes full screen, and if you just want to type something, go back to straight up, and it puts the video up top and the keyboard down below. I
gotcha, but still, it's still not a great. That's still not.
Yeah, you're right. It's not perfect, but works all
right. Aaron, you got a really weird. You put this in the show notes for me, but what is this thing?
It's called Gem Water. So it's a glass water bottle. And in the bottom is like a little glass dome that's got gemstones in it. So this one has, I think it was topaz and lapis lazuli. And depending on what you believe, the gemstones will infuse the water with certain helpful healing properties.
Wow.
And, you know, I guess there's a lot of people that believe this, you know, can be beneficial and helpful.
Yeah. Well, minerals are good for our body.
I just think it looks pretty, right? Like, I mean, the bottle looks really nice. I don't know if it's helping me be sort of calmer or more creative or more inspired. But I do know I like drinking out of it. So I've been keeping it on my desk because I like looking at it. And thus I'm drinking more of the water out of it. I've also realized that I prefer drinking out of glass.
Oh.
So I've always had a plastic water bottle on my desk at the office.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe I will, maybe I won't. But having the glass bottle,
I think glass is cleaner. It feels cleaner, right? I mean, glass just feels cleaner to me than plastic. I've always struggled with reusable containers that are plastic, because especially at the office, because you're like, then I got to take it home and wash it, or do I wash it in the office sink? Like, do I really trust the office sink? When's the last time that thing was cleaned? Right, kind of deal.
Right.
And so I've just always felt cleaner with glass. Okay, so it's supposed to have minerals, and those minerals are supposed to infuse into the water, and then and refillable, and are those in like a
washable
little container in there, or what's the?
Yeah, so
let me make you big
kind
screen.
of in a little. It's kind of in a little dome inside, and you can choose like different options for the for which stones you want in it. I guess depending on what properties you like, or what. You know,
like
what
the
you
bottom
think is
must screw
attractive.
off, right? The bottom screws off.
Yeah, it does. So this comes off, and then there's a lid, obviously, for the top. So I mean, as a thing, as an object, I really like it. Like it's amazing. You know, I like essential oils. I like that kind of stuff. I like it because, you know, it smells good. Yeah. Is it, you know, is the peppermint oil really making me feel more creative? I don't know about that, but I do know it helps if I feel a headache coming on.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not one of those people that's bought into all that hippie stuff, if we're going to call it hippie stuff.
But you do have a van.
But I do think there are aspects of it.
You do have a van. So like you kind of are a little hippie, right?
Fair enough.
I'm just saying. Did they send that to you to review, or is that okay?
Well, before COVID, I was trying to put together a whole bunch, because I've been reading a lot about all kinds of different water bottles, and actually there's like 3 or 4 different people that make these gem bottles. These guys have the sort of the small crystals inside it, but you can get one where it's a giant crystal that comes up into the bottle. So I was reading into this, and I, you know, was going to put together a big article about all the different water bottles, and the healing water bottles, and the crystal water bottles. Yeah. And then everybody's kind of pulled back on the things they're doing right now. So it's on hold for the moment.
The extras, couple comments. Joe says that's some hanky hoo-ha. I like that. I like that. Jim Shoemaker says, I guess you need to check your horoscope to see what will affect the gems will have on your life today. That's you know, that's an option as well. Well, you know, if it keeps you drinking more, you know, and it doesn't hurt you. Not a bad thing.
I might feel differently if they were floating around in the bottle. Like who's gonna drink water with rocks in it?
Like you're actually drinking rocks, you know, it's kind of the deal. Mike mentioned the Nespresso.
Not that kind of hippie.
You don't want to be that kind of hippie. No. Your digestive system would struggle with that after a while. Mike, you mentioned the Nespresso, and of course I've been an Nespresso fan for a bunch of years. Sarah bought that for me a couple years ago, actually, to bring down here to the studio on Saturday mornings. I would run out of coffee just too early. So she was like, hey, if I get you in the Nespresso machine, you can, during the show, you can pop a pod in and then make yourself some more coffee. Well, the machine's a little loud to just
extremely loud,
right?
Running during a show.
They are, aren't they?
And so what I would do is I would brew 2 cups of Nespresso with milk. You know, I make a latte basically out of Nespresso. Well, then when this whole thing hit and I came home, I figured like it's a buck a cup with Nespresso, right? You spend about $1 a pod on those things. And if I was going through 2 or 3 a day, that'd be a pretty expensive coffee habit. I mean, I'm kind of I might as well just go down to Starbucks and buy, right? Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, I guess I'm going to have to get out the old percolator. That's kind of what we had, an old perk machine for when the kids would come home at Christmas time. We didn't have a drip. All we had was a perk. So I started going through, okay, how do I do this again? I started, we had a grinder so I could grind my own coffee. Well, holy cow, I have become a perk snob at this point. So just kind of you got to get the right thing. And I clean that thing out every day. And perk coffee, I don't know what it is. It's the only coffee I can actually drink black because it is the best coffee in the world. And so and I thought at one point, brewing it and bringing it down here, it's kind of in a thermos container kind of thing. It'd stay hot. But then I never leave this place. So it's like I leave it in the kitchen so I can at least walk up to the kitchen and grab some more coffee. But I've been drinking, probably 2 or 3 cups, big grande size cups of coffee out of that percolator every day. And I love it. This is one of those things, like when I go back, that thing's coming with me. Like I'm not drinking crappy coffee out of the cafe anymore. That stuff is terrible. Like this black, freshly ground coffee out of and I have to admit, the first 5 weeks I had coffee we had bought in 2018 that expired in 2019. And it was still roasted beans and it still smelled good, right? So it's good. And we grinded those beans up and I used them, and I just finally got through after 6 weeks. I got through that, and I'm now into fresh, like non-expired coffee. But it's been that for me, that has been the new, that has been the discovery of this time, is kind of brewing my own coffee and really kind of enjoying that process, and then enjoying that coffee for most of the morning. And it's a $30 percolator, right? Those things are not, it's a heating element and a tube, right? It's not high tech at all, but I have really enjoyed my coffee. Mike, are you
using... it an automatic one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So my mom used to use a stovetop, which, right, you would put you put the grounds in the cup on the top, fill it up with water, put it on the stovetop. It would do its thing for 20 minutes. Really good coffee, by the way. She had like a 50-year-old perk stovetop that was just seasoned perfectly. The best coffee I've ever. Even Folgers tasted good out of that percolator. But yeah, no, it's a little Hamilton Beach, I think. Perk about this tall.
I'll have to look it up.
Plug it in. Super simple to use.
It's not bad. We have one for camping, and I've actually used it. Yeah, I've used it at home before. One time when our other between machines. But no, I pretty much only go espresso, and I've never put anything in my coffee until quarantine. I started using that milk frother. Usually I'm just a black coffee across the board, and man, it's really good.
Yeah, milk froth is great, isn't it? That's kind of the latte style.
Do you have that Nespresso one?
I don't. No, okay. No. And I bought a little. I bought one of those cheap Chinese frothers that. They sit about this tall, and then half of it, and it's got a little thing that spins on the inside, and it comes with a round hoop like frother. It's got the rings that will get you some real froth, but I like the denser froth. So I fill it up, and then I just use the metal piece or the flat plastic piece that comes with it. And all it does is spin and just lightly froth it. And I find that to be a little bit tastier for me. By the way, the best milk to froth with is the lactose-free milk.
So the vitamin D, the fully leaded milk, that stuff froths real good.
That becomes whipped cream, my friend.
Exactly. That's why it's so delicious. Maybe that's why I like it so much.
Now Aaron's like, I'm going to make a latte. No, but the lactose-free milk, my daughter has lactose problems. And so she started buying this. And one day I ran out of milk. And I was like, oh my God, we don't have any milk in the house. Sarah's like, just use Sammy's milk. I'm like, I can't use that. That's for like other people. She's like, it'll be fine. Right? So she's like,
the fake milk.
Yeah. So I put it in. It's like almond milk. I'm not sure where the milk out of almonds comes from, but apparently there's milk in almonds. And so I put it in, and that thing froths perfectly. So if you're ever wanting a perfect froth, lactose-free milk is what will give you the absolutely perfect foam you've ever seen. Yeah, no, it was incredible. It was incredible. So Mike, anything? I want to ask you, your Nespresso machine. Are you using more than one pot a day, or are you making one cup?
I try to stick to one, but I've been going two most days. It's hard because at work I'm so used to just having cup after cup after cup, but it's been nice because I needed to cut down on my caffeine intake. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, usually it's two right now, to be honest.
Aaron, are you big coffee drinker in the mornings, or are you using tea? I mean, I'm
a coffee snob.
Oh,
right. Oh, no, I'm a super coffee snob. I import my coffee from California. Anytime I go down to California to visit, I bring back like a 5-pound bag of coffee.
Where do you get it from?
Wow.
Yeah. There's a great place in Los Angeles called Earth Cafe.
Okay.
And they just have this one roast that I just love. And I mean, I have tried every kind of coffee, every type of bean, local, national, international. And this is just the one that rocks my world. So anytime I travel, I come home with some and I store it in the freezer and take it out a pound at a time. And
now
I love it. And I drink it black, nothing in it.
Okay, straight. And if you're a real hippie, you'd be French press. So are you a French presser, or how do you make it?
No, I just do like cone drip. Or I'll do espresso.
Your hippie status just dropped. Like you just fell out.
Thank goodness.
Drip. Wow, drip. You want to try that? Have you tried perking it?
Only when we've been camping, actually. And I mean, to Mike's point, like, yeah, it's really good. But I actually didn't realize that you could get sort of an in-home automatic percolator.
Yeah. No, it was $30-$40. It wasn't terribly expensive.
Yeah.
I just think whenever I'd go home and see my mom, I never drank coffee as a kid. In fact, I probably didn't start drinking until I was maybe in my 30s. And when I go to work for my parents, my mom would be like, "You want coffee?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I always had to have cream and, always had to cover the flavor, right? Because I was drinking really bad coffee. And she'd make coffee in that percolator. And I remember one time I was like, "Do you have any like milk or cream?" She's like, "No, drink it. It's coffee." That was my mom. Like, why would you ruin it? So I was like, all right. So I started taking a drink, straight black. And I'm like, oh my God, where did you get this? Like, is this special coffee?
What magical elixir is
She's
this?
like, it's Folgers. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, really? And I just learned the perk has because of the way it cooks it and the way it kind of just works through the grounds with it and the temperature at which it does it at, it gets this kind of perfect little. It's why the coffee is always so good camping. You think it's because you're camping and you're like,
you're camping.
Man, this coffee's so good this morning. No, it's because you perked it. So yeah.
Have you guys tried cold brew? You tried cold brewing coffee?
I haven't done that, but Mike, have you?
Not making my own. I do love it from Starbucks. I've never tried to make my own.
And it's just pouring it. You just brew it and then pour it over ice, right? Or is that
essentially? Yeah. I mean, you can get a couple gadgets. I think it was 2 summers ago. I tried a whole bunch of different cold brew gadgets. And yeah, you basically like mix the grounds with the water and let it sit, for however long. I think it's overnight. And then you strain it. Like some of these gadgets have these special little strainers in them that, makes it easy. But it takes all the acid out of it because the heat, you don't have the heat sort of, I don't know what exactly the heat does to the coffee grounds, but doing it cold makes it a lot less bitter and gives you sort of a lot more flavor in it. Okay, and it's actually the same with tea. I've been cold brewing tea.
Yeah.
And I don't like tea generally because I find it very bitter.
Yeah.
But if I cold brew it, love it. Love it.
I'll have to try that. I did French press for a while. And it's just so messy and so, boil the water, bring it up, stir it around, press it down. Like, it's too much work. So I like the perk. I like the perk.
I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, no, I'll have to try cold brew. Because I let my coffee get cold. That's not what that means. That's not what they mean by cold brew, right? Okay.
No,
when you let your coffee get cold and you drink it that, or brew it hot. It's not the same thing if you brew it hot and pour it over ice. Not cold brew.
No,
right?
no,
right. Okay.
No. And the cold brew enthusiast will light you up for trying to say like brew the hot coffee and then pour it over ice. It's like no. And it does make a big difference because I mean, then you're just having cold, waterier coffee.
Yeah.
Whereas with cold brew, it's quite concentrated.
Cold.
So you need less of it. Yeah. It's really good.
All right. I'll have to give it
Highly recommended.
I'll have to give it a try. If you guys are listening live, if you guys could hang tight for me for one more second. If you guys are listening live, thanks for coming out. Remember, next week we've got Chris Nessie, Brian Freelander, and Nathaniel Lindley coming. A little round table on education and how this COVID situation has changed kind of the ed space. It's going to be fascinating. I'm really looking forward to asking those guys some questions and just letting them talk. So that'll be coming up, and then Dave McCabe's coming up in 2 more weeks to talk about a little bit of lawn care and the technology that goes into that. I'm excited about that as well. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.